Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, Real Gerald Quinn, as we look back at another episode of the best show on television, Snowfall, season 5, episode 9, Departures. Of course, this is the penultimate episode before next week's season finale. Just a quick synopsis before we get into best scenes and what have you. We see Buckley failed attempt on the life of one Kane. And of course, we could have saw that coming a mile away. Like even last week, there was that he was going to find a way to fuck that up. So we see him and the ramifications of that. We see Franklin wanting out of the game. We'll talk about that a lot, including our deep dive. We see a touching scene between Wanda and Leon. We see a number of characters wanting, trying to plan for the next move in terms of possible exit strategies. Over the course of this episode, we see Avi gets attacked, but does survive. And we see, of course, Franklin finally finds out about Wanda, not about Wanda, but about Leon, Louie, and Jerome being in cahoots with Teddy Mack, and did not take too kindly to it, to say the least. But we're going to begin with a little different this time. We're going to begin with the themes. Of course, the themes of this episode was exit strategy. To me, you had a number of characters, where it was Franklin, whether it was in particular Franklin, Veronique, Leon, all kind of looking for a way out of this life, a way out of their current circumstances. So, and even Buckley, in terms of his situation that he has gotten himself into. So that was the theme. That was the theme of this particular episode, exit strategy. We're going to switch it up, get to best scenes to start off. Buckley's failed attempt on Kane. Again, we saw this coming a mile away. So Buckley, and along with a couple of his cops from his crash unit, just basically pull up on Kane at the pool, outside the pool hall, where Kane hangs with his peoples, and just basically started bucking. Like, they just went up to him and just started just shooting. He kills the majority of Kane's peoples that were with him, 3 or 4 guys that were with him. Kane gets away, but gets shot twice, and will end up being paralyzed. Buckley, here's the thing about Buckley, and this is why, he was not dependable, because first of all, Buckley's always coked up. This is where, if you're Louie, you had to just know that this dude he's a cokehead cop. Like, yeah, he likes Louie. He's loyal to her, but he's also a cokehead. And, Buckley, in that moment, as he's getting a call that his partner's been shot, he had an opportunity. He had about 10, 15 seconds to finish Kane off. He easily could have shot Kane again. Shot Kane twice. He easily could have gone for the kill shot. And just added on to the lie that he made up to his superiors and what have you. Instead, not only does he not kill Kane, but he just completely ruins himself as far as any credibility he has within that department. Later, getting himself basically going to getting himself fired and almost arrested by bucking against his one of his superior officers, when he was asked to be drug tested and asked to give up his gun and badge. So we knew Buckley was not dependable. We knew Buckley was going to find a way to fuck this up. I'm not going to get into like too technical of how you should approach Kane. Listen, like this, he took, like I said, he took everybody out, took a lot of Kane people's out, and shot Kane twice. So he had did that part of the job. But if you have a chance to finish the job off, you're right there. Nobody, again, I'm sure he wasn't going to be concerned about witnesses at that point. Just one shot, that would have been it. Kane it would have been done. So you had that going on at the to kind of open up the episode. To open up the episode. And again, this guy was not to be trusted as far as being a reliable somebody that's reliable that's going to get the job done. Like that, like you just knew that this was going to go left. Again, and Louis should have been smarter in terms of dealing with somebody like Buckley, who again he's a cokehead. He is a cokehead, unstable cop, who's crazy at that. So um, we could have saw this. We saw this coming a mile away. We'll talk more about this over the course of the podcast. Leon and Franklin. So for the first time over the course of this season, since he moved into this new plush place that Franklin has, basically overlooking the mountains or overlooking the overlooking Hollywood Hills. It's the first time Leon has been there, and Leon explains, and so Leon, who in the past this past season has criticized Franklin for being focusing on money and basically sacrificing our people for his own riches and what have you. Explain, talk to Franklin about what transpired with Buckley and Louie and that whole situation. Said that he said that Louis went behind our backs basically, and said one thing and did the other. And he's expecting that Franklin would be equally as pissed off as he was, and that wasn't the case. Franklin says, "Look, you know, um, Kane tried to kill Louis and Jerome. I don't necessarily agree with the war, with going with the way with their approach, but I can understand why they did what they did." And again, this was the first scene where you saw a tired, beat up, Damson Idris, Franklin Saint. Like this was the scene that set the tone, set the whole tone for the episode as far as his mindset. He looked like a guy that was just tired of the game. He looked like he had 1 foot out of the game in that particular scene. He tells Leon, "Look, y'all want to go, y'all go, you go to war. I'm not going to be there. If you could try to go to war, if you try to go to war with Louis over this or go to war in general, I want no part of it. I want no part of this." And again, I told you on the last podcast that it would not piss him off that much. Louis going behind his back for that in terms of with the Kane stuff would not piss him off to that extent. And I'm not surprised. I was not surprised by his reaction, Frank's reaction, or lack thereof a reaction to Louis going behind his back. Because the bottom line is Kane did try to come after everybody, including himself, his mom, his mother, Louis, Jerome, Louis, everybody. So in the world that he tells, basically tell in the world that they live in, this is kind of like code of the streets. Eye for an eye. There's going to be some type of retaliation. So you know, um, Leon walks out annoyed. He also takes the book that he gave Franklin earlier in the season and noticed that it hadn't been read. Basically, it hadn't been read. Had not been read, and he says and tells Leon and tells Franklin, you didn't even open up this book at all. And he walks out annoyed, and Franklin just is like, look, I mean, basically during the scene, Franklin says, look, I got too much to lose in order to go to war. The family, the businesses, things of that nature. So again, we talked about this too with Franklin being, like veering into that Stringer Bell mode of where he's removed from almost completely removed from the street and into the business mindset and to not and trying to almost basically be removed from the game in general, which is not a good place to be at, to be honest with you. Because things like this, things of this nature can come up and creep up on you. So this is not Franklin's reaction to this was not surprising whatsoever. Louis and Buckley. So Buckley at this point is in total, like, he's in total disarray. He's on the verge of losing his job. He had to turn in his gun and badge. He his wife threatened to take his kids. He showed up to his, he showed up to his house, wanted to see his kids, but his wife knew, or his ex-wife, I should say, he's divorced, knew that he was high. So she's, I think they made her seem like she was probably like a social worker or something like that. So his life is in shambles right now. So he comes into Louie's office, unbeknownst to Louie, as he's done previous this season, comes in her office, is in her office without her knowing, and he she talks about the fact that, and Louis, give Louis a lot of credit in this. So Louis, does not overreact. He comes to the office wanting the rest of his money. Remember, it was it was half before the job. The other half was supposed to be when the job was done. They basically get into a back and forth saying, she said, hey, the job's not done because Kane is not dead. Because Kane is not dead. So they get into it. So she completely takes control of the situation by basically mind fucking Buckley. She said, look, he tells her, he tells her he's gonna lose his job, his family, his life is basically he's at the bottom. She says, look, don't worry about it. This is not about an ending, this is about a new beginning. I'm gonna put you on payroll. You're gonna be making more money than you ever made before. You have a lot of connections to the police. Don't worry about, will this, you're gonna be good. And I was kind of surprised. Like, this kind of threw me off a little bit because there was a prior scene where Jerome and Louis talked about possibly getting rid of Buckley. So, I think, first of all, I think, again, as sloppy as Buckley is, he does know a lot of information. If you kill him now, that's more attention on you. That's more attention that the cops are going to be putting on maybe the projects and maybe the operations. So I think it probably was a smart move for Louis to do this, just to calm him down. Remember, Buckley was in a state of just panic, in a state of where he was a wild card, where he, like, unpredictable, with who knows what he would have done out of desperation. You just don't know. So I think she did this, not so much. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if she got rid of him in the next episode or got rid of him sometime early next season. And I'm going by the assumption that Louis is going to make it through this season, based on what I saw, especially what I saw in this episode. That I think she did this to kind of like corral Buckley, and to make sure that because she knows he's at a place. Listen, he's at a place of weakness. She's almost like a pimp right now. Okay, she's almost like a pimp right now, and she's in complete control of him. She controls him in essence. Like, if she wants to kill him, she can kill him. If she wants to not pay him, she can not pay him. He doesn't. He really has no, like, he doesn't have too much recourse to come at Jerome and Louis, because he has no allies right now. So the police force doesn't fuck with him. The streets definitely don't fuck with the streets. Not fucking with him. So it's like he almost has Louis, and Louis knows this. Louis knows this 100%. So I understand why why she did what she did from that standpoint. Yeah, the scene, I didn't have this on there, which definitely should have been on there. Franklin, Jerome, and Louis. So they meet up, and Franklin comes in basically as a continuation of the last episode, basically continuously to apologize to Louis. He comes in, he's coming in total humility, saying, hey, I understand what you did with Kane. I get it. I'm not upset. It's just, that's the streets. And then they tell him, they talk about the wedding briefly. And then Louis comes out and tells him that she is dealing with with Teddy Mack and buying directly from Teddy Mack, and basically, and Franklin basically flips out. Franklin says, how much this is going to affect. This is going to affect his business. They also tell him that they also explained and talked to him about the expansion, and Franklin completely loses it and says, you know what, good luck. Good luck being at the head of the table, so to speak. Being you always want to be front and center. Now you have that. Now you're front and center, and he walks out pissed off and upset. And again, this was, I he probably had one foot out the door to begin with, even before that meeting. But this, to me, was the nail in the coffin for him to want to be out of the drug business and want to be and not want to deal with the whole, Teddy Mack, um, Jerome and Louie and all that whole ordeal with them dealing with the same buyer, having them both buy from Teddy Mack. So them dealing with Teddy Mack, all three of them dealing with Teddy Mack clearly affects Franklin the most, um, by far. Like it's not even close. Franklin dealing only because it creates another competitor. So think about this. They go from uh remember at the beginning of the season, they were getting their stuff from him. Okay. They split apart. Now they are in essence in competition with him. And that's just not, from his standpoint, and he's pissed off, rightfully so. That's just not smart business. Like, he's gonna be making less money with that setup. But so that's even despite the fact that they agreed to give him a territory in California, that he was the man. There was a point where he basically ran California. So that's that's one of the reasons why he's pissed off. And again, it's more about a betrayal standpoint, even more so than the economic standpoint. The economic standpoint is more about betrayal. And I told you last episode, this would set him off. Not the Kane stuff, but this would clearly set him off. Louis going behind his back, Louis and Jerome, and mostly Louis. He knows Franklin understands that Louis is running this, and this is Louis. I mean, this is Louis all the way. So he walks out pissed off. Jerome said the last episode he was gonna be mad and upset about it, and because he knows his nephew. So he walks out there. We get to Louie and Teddy Mack. So they meet up for a drop. Louie has her bodyguard, and you have Teddy, and of course Gustavo. They exchange some pleasantries, talk about the wedding briefly, and then Teddy Mack gives Louie the Franklin treatment from the standpoint of, I don't want to deal. You don't bring your security. Says you could thank Franklin for that. She says she doesn't travel without security, but Teddy Mack says, this is how it's going to be from moving forward. And he tells her you can thank Franklin for that. They, and then they said at the next drop, they explained that she says that Jerome will not be making most of the drops, and that the next drop is not going to be. They'll make a drop after. They'll get a drop before they head out. They head out of town. Then you have, after, when she pulls off with her bodyguard, you have a situation where Gustavo questions Teddy for selling to both Louis and Franklin, saying that could possibly present some issues with within the family. And Teddy Mack basically says doesn't care. Like, he just says it. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. He basically brushed it off as saying it doesn't matter. Like, to him, from that, but their issues don't matter to him as long as they both are buying from him, basically. So you had that going on, which makes you think that is what side of the fence does Oso land? I mean, Oso's cool with making money, but Oso clearly did not agree with this move. We saw that even we saw that even with the last episode. Some other possible scenes that we could have tossed in here. The Wanda Leon scene again was a touching scene between two of our favorite characters. Everybody's rooting for Wanda and Leon. Leon, of course, tells Wanda, "I want come with me, to Africa or Europe. I got enough money." Wanda doesn't believe it, but still but still admits to loving Leon. Just you're rooting for these characters, especially for Wanda. She's cleaned up, looking great, by the way. And Leon, he's clear. He's turned into this miniature kind of revolutionary. He doesn't want to see any, killing or no more dead bodies. He's trying to take himself out the game from that standpoint. So it's not. I just have a feeling that this is just not going to end well for those two, for both of these characters. That they're not. I'm not saying that one of them is going to end up dead, but I just don't see like Leon going to Africa, leaving Africa. Something will happen where that will keep him right in LA. Like I just don't see that particularly happen. I just don't see that happening. Him getting away that easily. But again, very touching scene between those two. As far as the deep dive, Franklin's exit. So this has been kind of building up throughout the course of the episode, and really want to be honest with you, maybe throughout the course of the season. So Franklin, so we do. Hold on. All right, let's do the Franklin. Also, I don't know why I didn't have this scene on here. Also, the Franklin and Teddy Mack scene, of course, that ends the episode with Franklin and Teddy Mack speaking at a restaurant. Teddy Mack is coming all in. He's in great mood, ordering what did he order? Some apple pie with some whipped cream and a cup of coffee. Teddy's feeling good about his life right now. He's got a new girl, and even Franklin notices, hey man, you're in a good mood. And before Franklin brings up, they have a little conversation about L.A. and New York, the city that sleeps versus sleep. Calls L.A. the city that sleeps in, and before they get the small talk out of the way, talk about the Franklin basically says, hey, I didn't mean to threaten to kill you. I was on I got drugged with some LSD, and then you have a situation where they discuss Teddy hooking up with not hooking up, but making a deal with Louie, and he says, "Hey, this is business, not personal." And Franklin basically stops him in almost a mid sentence, saying, "Look, I made you over $56 million. And he goes through everything that the game is costing him as far as being locked up, shot at, having to betray people, and basically tells Teddy, "Look, I'm out. Like this is it. This is our agreement is over with." Teddy immediately goes to because of Louis making a deal with Louis and Jerome. Next he says, "Yeah," and Franklin basically tells him, "Yeah, this is yeah, that definitely has part. That definitely is part of it. Is the major reason for it." But he basically says, "Look, I'm about to have a child. I'm about to have a child. About to be a father. I've made a ton of money. We've together between you being from Kansas, me being from LA. We've made history. We're a part of history. It's over." And he reaches out his hand, says, "Good luck to Teddy." And briefly, and by the way, Carter Hudson, who plays Teddy Mack, was spectacular in this scene. He'll be MVP because of that, of this episode. He hesitates and then says, good luck to Franklin." But the tension, it was such a menacing look. And again, the actor Carter Hudson, who plays Teddy, just was great in the scene. He really played this scene perfectly. as far as not wanting to give off the fact of how pissed off he was, but also but giving off that energy that the fact that he was was pissed off with Franklin, and you had them, and that was and you had them walking, you had Franklin walking away, and that's how the episode ended. So let's go to the deep dive here with Franklin. So all right, so we're gonna let's deep dive Franklin's exit. So I feel like this has been building up, and I'll probably get a better sense of this, when I do a rewatch on it before the season finale. I'm gonna rewatch all the episodes before the season finale. But it's I think Franklin has been slowly removing himself from the game, and going into this real estate, kind of like I said, stringer bell type arc with his character. So this just didn't happen with one episode, and or with him finding out that Louie had betrayed him with making a deal with Teddy. This was kind of like something that's been building really all season long. You think about you think about how many missteps that he's had, uh, not seeing, and he's been called out for those missteps. I mean, Teddy Mack called him out for being sloppy with the hits with Kane, not seeing Peach's betrayal. He called out for Louis for not seeing Peach's betrayal, stuff that in the past, in the first three seasons, especially season 3 and 4, that Franklin would have saw. So I think that there's been a shift of mindset that has caused him uh to want out of the game. He just does not want to play anymore. He does, it's just that simple. He doesn't want to play anymore. And now I think that, with having a family, you know, I'm assuming that he probably will probably end up marrying Veronique if it, or has plans to it. Even if he doesn't, having a child, that's even further like that, when something like that happens, that takes your perspective away from that. That's more. That's a liability. It's a liability because that's the less attention when you have things that are happening. You're in the drug business. You're a kingpin, and there are things that are around you or connected to you that take your mind off the game. You are close. You're going to be closer. You're just going to be one step closer to death. And I think Franklin is so smart and calculated that in his mind, he's thinking, "Hey, let me get out of this. Let me get out of this because I can't. I because if I'm not in this 100%, then I'm as good as dead." So I think that that is the major. I think that this is something again that just wasn't. This wasn't just coming. This doesn't come about just one episode. And we can also talk about the conversation he had with Veronique when they were very open with each other about past discretions in terms of things they had done in their life. She talked about her mom and her running a con game, and her mom ended up killing a dude that tried to choke her. And she tried to compare that with Franklin's, was saying that I've killed people, hurt people, and done this, and I haven't been honest with you, but it's not the same as what your situation is. So they kind of come clean with each other from that standpoint. But I think this is something that's been building for an entire season, not just with this episode. Um, with this episode is what like it's one of the reasons why also too why Teddy Mack is not wasn't happy when he found out Franklin was so high profile with the real estate, because he knows, hey, if you're not focused on this one particular thing, then you're going to become a liability. And you think about this from a business standpoint. You have assets and liabilities, right? So as Franklin has collected more assets, think about this. He's collected more assets, but with that, he's become a liability. You know, he has Leon calling him out for the house that he's living in. You have your own family, in essence, basically take over your business in a way, in a sense. Your own family. You know, the stuff that was going on with his mother, and her in that situation. So I think all these things are wearing on him, and he got to a point where, look, I done made a ton of money. I got a family coming up. I can just walk. I'm just gonna walk away. Now, of course, we know it's not gonna be that simple, and we know that Teddy Mack is not going to. Franklin's too valuable. Yeah, he's become a liability, but he's still a valuable asset as well. Two things can be true. He's also a valuable asset to Teddy Mack, and Teddy Mack is not going to let him walk away. That's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just not. So we'll see what happens in the next episode. MVP is Teddy Mack. That last scene, Carter Hudson, was spectacular. In that last scene in the deli, in the diner. I mean, just that last, his mood from the time they walked in versus his expression from the time the scene ended. Just a complete transformation of mood, and the last 20 seconds when he stands up and gives a delayed handshake. Again, you can see the tension in his face. You can feel the body language as far as the tension from that standpoint. But he could not give away the fact that he was, and frankly, probably already knew this because he knows him so well. Couldn't completely give away of how pissed off he was, but he was pissed. He was pretty pissed, to say the least. You read the body language. So again, an episode that was pretty hard. I'll be honest with you, it's pretty hard to give out who the MVP was. I give the nod to one Teddy Mack. So next week will be the season finale. Of course, they are set up. They're going to have, of course, season 6. They've already confirmed that there will be a season 6. I'm happy. I'm definitely happy about that. Listen, I to make a prediction, who knows what happens next episode. Even watching the preview, there seems like there's going to be some Teddy Mack versus Franklin stuff going on. Some Franklin versus Louie confrontation. They're not going to kill Louie. I don't like. I wonder what the consequence. Louie has to pay a consequence for this failed hit on Kane. That has to pay off as a consequence. So maybe Jerome gets killed. Maybe I don't think so, but that could be a possible consequence. With that, um, who knows? Look, man. If you ask me who, I think there's a possibility of I I think that I would not be surprised. I think there are 4 people that are on the hitting board. I think you have Veronique, Jerome, Veronique, or Leon. One of those 3 characters is going to die. And right now, I'll probably lean towards. I'm thinking moving forward. I'm thinking Veronique. I think Veronique is going to get got. I don't see Franklin being allowed to walk away from the drug business. We know that's not going to happen. So what would be the most devastating thing to happen to him? They're not going to kill Sissy. The most devastating thing to happen to him would be losing his girl and his child. That what gets Franklin to that dark place, what gets Franklin back in the game, completely back in the game, back focused, and back into that street kingpin mentality. That is Veronique being taken out. So I can definitely, I can see, I would not surprise me whatsoever if they took out Veronique, and along with his baby, his unborn child. So that would be my prediction for next episode. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. Again, this podcast was sponsored by All Calculated Measures. Shout out to Adrian McDonald. We'll put that up on our Instagram and our Instagram, my Instagram, Twitter pages. I will see you next time on another episode of the Real Deal podcast. So long.